Good work, Starship. Why don't you guys take a break?
He will use the power only for good, never for evil. Sex appeal after shave alone. Remember.
The sounds you hear are a symphony of 80s nostalgia, dystopian cyberpunk, and savage swords drawn against super sorcery and super science. This is the start of Rogue Transmissions for DUNGEONPUNK.
Barbarians!
Every day, countless radio signals float unseen through our airwaves. Many of these originate from the airline industry, the military, police, fire, and rescue. But then there are other signals. Their source is unknown, they're barely detectable, and their message is dangerous. We give you Rogue Transmissions.
Players to stadium now. Players to stadium now. Players to stadium now.
Byzantium Slab, The Shell Remembers, Part 1. Chan is being questioned by an unseen character, a disembodied voice known as Whisper, for now anyway.
Right. So you remember your name is Chan. What else can you remember?
I remember a cage, and each cage is stacked high with tiny cells. In each cell, there's an altar with a single supplicant praying to the god of the altar. I am one of the supplicants. We are not chained to the altars, but we are not free either.
Chan's narrative plays over images of an office cubicle farm in a world only about 18% more dystopian than the real world that you and I inhabit. Again, these are normal office cubicles, except to save money on office space, the company has devised a catwalk and ladder system, enabling them to stack cubicles from floor to ceiling. The desks are altars, and the gods they pray to are tiny, outmoded laptops. Chan is dressed in conservative, slightly futuristic business attire, suitable for a low-level analyst. Her posture looks painful as she hunches over her work in the low-ceiling cubicle. Camera drones hover about the office, monitoring the productivity of the office workers. Note to art department. Somewhere in the background, as an Easter egg, you should hide a corporate logo for Byzantium Labs.
Electronic eyes are abroad at all hours watching us. Any supplicant who does not show sufficient piety is punished.
Dreams. It's not an uncommon occurrence for those few unfortunates who survive the Witch King's extractors.
Is Witch King too Tolkien, or is it a generic term used all over the fantasy genre? Should I switch it to the Hex King or the Witch Baron? Because I really like the sound of Witch King.
What else?
They let us out at night, but the city is a hellscape. Soldiers at every turn, bloodthirsty to administer rough justice.
Some scenes of Office Chan eating at a fast food joint called Humburgers. Burgers so good you'll hear beautiful music with each bite. Inside, everything is bright and cheerful. Outside, it's a biomechanical hellscape. Everything is dirty and broken down. Trash can fires and janky tech that's not much more advanced than what we have now litters every darkened corner. Police sentry robots mercilessly beat rioting protesters and anarchist punks in the street. The protesters hold signs denouncing police brutality and the establishment of laws based upon strict fundamentalist Christian teachings.
But when I return home, he is there, waiting for me.
Who? Who is there?
Drill, the little dead boy who haunts me.
Astrolaben Hajata, Tantium, Monotov, Menasian, Zanzibar, Sumamanda, Rasata, Sakunda, Dimsadi, Azuda, Tanda,
Don't wake the dragon.
The satanic panic of the 1980s accused Dungeons and Dragons of promoting the occult. Fuel bad media hysteria and bad psychology.
It starts with the roll of a dice. The click-clack of plastic on the wood. A character dies and the table laughs. Because it's just a game. The monsters, they stay on the paper. The curses, they stay in the math. That's the deal. The game is ended. The dice are packed away, and the story is supposed to stay on the table. But in 1982, in a quiet Virginia suburb, the deal broke. Irving Bink Pulling, he walked away from the table, but something didn't stay where it should have. It followed him through the front door. His mother didn't see a teenager anymore. She saw a boy under a hex. A boy turning into something not quite human. When the game ends, you're supposed to come back. At Bink Pulling, he never did. The police, they saw a tragedy, but the world saw something more sinister. I'm your host, Hopper Daly.
And I'm Mackenzie.
And this is the final trace of the curse of Bink Pulling.
This is a little bit weird, though, because when I think of the 80s, I don't think of fear like this.
No?
No.
You probably think of cartoons, after-school TV, heroes with swords, glowing armor, worlds that just felt larger than life.
Yes. Yeah. Like everything felt fun.
It was. Until some people started to believe those worlds weren't just staying on the screen. To understand this story, we have to go back to the table. It's 1982, a classroom at Patrick Henry High School. A handful of kids there leaned over a map, pencils moving, scratching the paper, dice within reach, just standard stuff. But according to the legend that followed, this wasn't just a standard game.
Okay, so what made it different?
Bink's character. The story goes that during this session, the Dungeon Dragon Master, who was the principal, by the way, he placed a curse on Bink's character. In the game, that's nothing unusual. A spell, a penalty, just part of the story. But this story says it didn't stay there.
What do you mean it didn't stay there?
His mother, Patricia, she would later speak about things that shouldn't be possible. She said the boy who came home that night, he wasn't the same boy who left. She described a personality shift, so violent it felt physical. She claimed he started changing. She talked about hearing sounds from his room, growling, and she claimed that he was howling at the moon and walking on all fours, his eyes fixed on something that she just couldn't see. To her, this wasn't a mental health crisis. He was having a transformation.
Like he was literally becoming the thing in the game?
Exactly. To her, the curse wasn't just part of the game. It was real. And then, she claimed there was evidence around the neighborhood. 19 rabbits and 1 cat found disemboweled. Patricia claimed that her son was reaving the land. Those were her words. Like he was a monster under a spell that he couldn't break.
And she was connecting this all to the game.
Not just the game. She believes it was a curse, that whatever happened at that table, it didn't just stay there. It followed him home. June 9th, 1982. The house is dark, the front door is standing wide open. The police report says it was a .38 caliber. A tragic final act from a desperate boy. But when Patricia walked into that house, she didn't see a crime scene. She said she felt a presence. She found a note she believed was a literal death hex, cast by the principal, the dungeon master, and it read, quote, "Your soul is mine. I choose the time. At my command, you will reave the land. A follower of evil, a killer of man." End quote. And in that moment, the game didn't just feel real. It felt like it had won. After the tragedy, the police report was signed and the file was already being closed. But Patricia Pulling, she wasn't closing anything. She was opening up a war.
What did she do? What could she do?
She sued the high school, the principal first. In 1983, she filed a lawsuit against the principal, the dungeon master. She said he was responsible for her son's death because he was the one who had placed that death curse on her son.
Okay, and did it hold up? Did the case go to trial?
I mean, not at all. A judge threw it out within months. He said there's no legal connection between a tabletop game and this tragedy. But here's the thing. It didn't matter that she lost the case, because by then, she'd already found it bad. Bothered against Dungeons and Dragons. The acronym became the siren song of the 80s. She started appearing on talk shows, 60 Minutes, The 700 Club, telling millions of parents that their children were playing with demons. She turned a dismissed lawsuit into a national movement. Suddenly, the paranormal wasn't just in one house in Virginia. It was, according to her, in every house with a 20-sided die. And it wasn't just talk shows that Patricia went on. She started training the police.
Wait, actual cops?
Actual law enforcement. She became a cult consultant. She was telling detectives that if they found a 20-sided die at a crime scene, they weren't looking at a teenager's bedroom. They were looking at a ritual site, a portal for the devil.
So like satanic panic. Was this the thing that started that in the 80s?
Not exactly the start. By the early 80s, that fear was already building. Stories of cults, rituals, things hiding just out of sight. But this case made it louder, more organized. It didn't create the panic, but it gave it a new target. Dungeons and Dragons. Across the country, parents weren't just worried, they were terrified. They started seeing demons in their children's notebooks, symbols they just didn't understand, strange maps, drawings of monsters.
And when a parent doesn't understand something, especially back in 1983...
Yeah, they take it to the driveway. We're talking about actual book burnings. Parents were gathering up these manuals of evil, throwing the rule books and the character sheets into bonfires to, quote, save their children's souls.
But wait, if my parents were burning my stuff, I wouldn't stop playing. Honestly, I'd just hide it.
Exactly, and that's what they did. That was the loop. Kids started playing in secret, hiding their dice in hollowed-out books or meeting in basements with the lights low. To a parent already primed for satanic panic, that secrecy didn't look like a hobby. It looked like a cult. And by the mid-80s, the game wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It was a national emergency.
So the people who made the game, how did they react? Did they fight back?
They tried, but the pressure was already suffocating them. By the time the late 80s hit, TSR, the company behind Dungeons and Dragons, actually blinked. They started scrubbing their own books.
Scrubbing them, like deleting the scary stuff?
You got it. They removed words like demon and devil and replaced them with made-up names. They were literally trying to outrun this haunting. They thought if they changed the vocabulary, if they scrubbed out those names, the parents would stop seeing the paranormal in the margins. But while the lawyers were arguing over word choices and the country was burning books, everyone seemed to forget about the boy in Virginia. Bink, the werewolf, the cursed kid. When you peel back the layers of Patricia Pulling's crusade, the claims of howling at the moon and the disemboweled rabbits, you find a story that's much more common and much more devastating.
So it wasn't a curse at all?
Nope. It was just a 16-year-old kid who was trying to figure things out. A kid who felt isolated, who was struggling with a world that he didn't seem to have a place in. He didn't need an exorcist. He needed a hand to hold. The tragedy of Bink Pulling's story isn't the game that killed him. It's that his death was turned into a ghost story to scare other parents, while the real warning signs, the depression, the loneliness, were ignored in favor of a satanic headline. On June 9th, 1982, Bink Pulling, he died from a gunshot wound. His death ruled a suicide. And from that moment on, two stories existed at the same time. One, grounded in an investigation. The other, built on fear and panic.
And the second one is the one that people remember.
It's the one that spread. because it's so much easier to point at something external. A game, a symbol, a curse. But sometimes the hardest truth is that there isn't a monster to blame. And while the country was looking for demons in the rule books, they were missing the real ones that were standing right in front of them.
So, if there was no curse and no monsters, why does this story feel so heavy?
Because maybe we're looking at curses the wrong way. We look for the supernatural, the glowing eyes, the magic spells. But look at what happened here. A boy dies. A mother's grief is so sharp it creates a ghost that haunts an entire decade. Her words convinced millions of people that their basements were portals to hell. Her hex changed laws, burned books, and turned neighbors against each other for years. If a curse is something that takes a hold of a person and forces them to see a world that isn't there, then maybe Patricia was right. Maybe a curse did follow Bink home that night. It just didn't stop with her son. It waited for the rest of us.
I use my maiden name, so obviously patients don't know right off, but after they find out...
Window Wizards free shop-at-home catalog.
People get a real kick out of it. I mean...
Window Wizards, Route 13 in Bristol.
I should have married a banker.
Now you can buy it cheaper.
But when I return home, he is there, waiting for me.
Who? Who is there?
Drill, the little dead boy who haunts me.
Mundane scenes of Office Chan returning home from work. Her apartment is a tiny studio. Drill is with her at all times as she cleans dishes, watches TV, showers, brushes her teeth, etc. Drill, in this reality, looks exactly as he does in Life Without a Soul, except instead of a potato sack tunic, he's wearing a dirty, oversized I'm with stupid shirt and janky sneakers. The word stupid has been crossed out and replaced with the word dead. The arrow on the shirt, regardless of the character's positions relative to one another, always points to Office Chan.
He doesn't terrify me. He's a good companion. He comforts me like a house pet. He pukes a lot, also like a house pet, but I don't mind the mess. Sometimes I think he's the ghost of the innocent child I once was. The child that died with adulthood. I once thought he was the ghost of a son I'd never bear.
A nightmare.
No, not a nightmare. A buried truth.
Cut to the world of the Witch Kingdom. Chan and Whisper sit facing one another inside an old church that's been converted to Whisper's home. Drill stands next to Whisper, though she does not see him. Drill's appearance is unchanged from before. Chan has been living on her own for a while in the Teutonic city of Carlsbad. She looks a bit healthier than before, though she has some fresh cuts and bruises. More on that later. She's wearing DUNGEONPUNK street clothes with pagan punk accessories, and elements of the hero's armor from Life Without a Soul added to it. Her boots are mismatched to denote the duality of the DUNGEONPUNK aesthetic. One boot is a cuffed, fuzzy He-Man boot secured with leather straps. The other boot resembles loosely laced Doc Martens. Her hair has been crudely cut in an asymmetrical punk anarchist style that's fashionable for this world. Perhaps a mohawk or some style where she's buzz nearly bald on one side with short to medium length spiky hair on the other. Maybe a long braid or a rat tail. Note to art department, this will probably be her default look. Have fun designing this, LOL. Whisper we see as a warrior. She's wearing a long, flowing, hooded cloak that obscures her shape, though Whisper is taller and beefier than Chan. Whisper wears a steel or chrome mask that closely resembles the giant floating head from the movie Zardoz. Whisper's weapon is a chipped and blood-stained, broadsword-sized Jason Voorhees machete crackling with Kirby dots. We see it leaning next to the hero's hammer, now called Byzantium Slab by our characters, somewhere in the picture.
It's no nightmare. The little boy, Drill, He, at least, is real.
How do you know?
Because he's standing at your elbow.
Morning, noon, and night.
It's the ultimate fitness machine, specifically designed to firm and flatten the stomach as nothing else can.
Service. Performing a duty of benefit to others.
Now, may the mightiest warrior win!
Welcome back to Ghost Bites. I'm Mike.
And I'm your co-ghost, JT. And I'd like to just state for the public record that the spirits are being suspiciously quiet tonight. I don't trust it, Mike. It's like they're tiptoeing around. What are you hiding, spirits?
They're just calm tonight, JT. Enjoy the serenity. We've survived many of the stories on this podcast, and we shall continue. I think we've earned a peaceful evening by the fire. Just breathe in the pine.
Peace is just an intermission between terrors, Mike. That's a documented fact. You lower your guard, you take a deep breath of pine, and boom, a raccoon steals your graham crackers. Or a ghost tries to turn your skeleton into a wind chime. I prefer an environment where I can hear the threat coming. The silence here is deafening.
We'll keep your graham crackers close and your paranoia dialed up because tonight is a special episode. Usually I bring the story or we have a guest join the circle to share their trauma. But tonight, the reins are being handed over. JT, you brought the story.
I did. I figured it was time I stopped just reacting to the nightmares and started inflicting them on you for a change. I've been digging through the archives of my own paranoia, and I realized we haven't talked about the most terrifying, lawless place on Earth.
The DMV? On a Tuesday?
Close. The 1980s suburban shopping mall.
Ah, the fluorescent lights, the smell of aerosol hairspray mixing with Aunt Annie's pretzels, the orange Julius kiosk, the pure nostalgia, JT. Where's the horror in the food court?
The horror wasn't in the food court, Mike. The horror was in the back, past the Spencer Gifts with the blacklight posters, past the Sam Goody, tucked away in the darkest, stickiest room in the entire building.
The arcade? The neon sanctuary of the latchkey kid?
Exactly. But this isn't a story about eating fruit in Pac-Man or jumping barrels in Donkey Kong. This is a story about a machine that shouldn't have existed. It's a story my buddy Ryan told me. It happened to him and two brothers he grew up with, Jamie and Matthew, back in the humid, sticky summer of 1988.
A period piece. I love it. Setting the scene.
You won't love it when it's over, because arcades were designed to eat your quarters, Mike. But this machine was designed to eat the player. This is a story about magic, corrupted machinery, and the absolute worst game over imaginable. It's July 1988. Outside, the asphalt is practically melting. The air conditioning in the mall is cranked so high you can see your breath near the entrance. But inside the Starcade, it's a totally different ecosystem. It's 85 degrees and smells like hot circuitry, stale pepperoni pizza, and teenage sweat.
I can picture the carpet perfectly. It's got the weird galactic pattern with neon planets, zigzags, and all kinds of weird stains.
Yes! And it's so saturated with spilled soda that it literally pulls your unlaced Converse right off your heel when you walk. So Ryan, Jamie, and Matthew are 12 years old. They are at the peak of their arcade careers. They've got $5 in quarters between them. That's 20 lives. In 1988, 20 lives made you an absolute god among men.
Who held the quarters?
Jamie. He was the oldest brother, so he was the bag. He kept them in a little plastic Dixie cup. They were looking for the double dragon cabinet, but the arcade is packed. Teenage guys in denim jackets with mullets are hogging all the good machines, smoking cigarettes right on the control panels. So the boys wander to the very back of the room, the dead zone.
Every arcade had one. The row where the lights were burnt out.
The graveyard, where you found the games with the broken joysticks or the screens burned in with high scores from 1982. But shoved between a busted centipede and an unplugged asteroids cabinet is a machine they've never seen before.
What did it look like?
It didn't look like a normal arcade cabinet, Mike. It wasn't made of cheap particle board with bright peeling vinyl details. It was massive. It looked like it was made of dark, heavy oak, bound with brushed steel brackets and iron rivets.
Oak and iron? That's pretty heavy for a commercial arcade cabinet. That's a custom build.
Yeah, it looked like a piece of medieval furniture that had a CRT monitor violently shoved into it. The marquee at the top didn't have a flashy, backlit plastic logo. It just had thick Gothic lettering etched into smoked glass, glowing with a sickly, pulsing ultraviolet light. The title of the game was The Apparatus.
Well, that sounds like an RPG or a prog rock album.
The cabinet art was insane. Ryan said it looked like a heavy metal album cover painted by a madman who hated the future. It was pure dungeon punk. You know, high fantasy mixed with grimy industrial cyberpunk.
Like an elf with a shotgun?
Exactly. The side art featured a massive orc wearing a studded leather biker jacket, wielding a battle axe made from a ripped-out V8 car engine. Standing next to him was an elven mage playing a guitar that shot jagged purple lightning. It was neon. It was fantasy. It was aggressive.
I'm not gonna lie, JT, that sounds like a game I would have pumped $20 into.
That's the hook. That's what they thought. Matthew, the youngest, stepped up to the control panel, but there were no standard red plastic buttons. The buttons were smooth, polished stone set into the wood, and the joystick, it wasn't a plastic ball, it was a cold iron spike wrapped in worn, stained leather.
Okay, the design details are getting a little sinister. The tactile experience of this is deeply unsettling.
Well, Matthew doesn't care. He just wants to play the cool new game. He takes a quarter from Jamie's cup. He drops it into the coin slot. It immediately spits it out in the coin return. He tries another one. Spits it out.
Jammed mech.
See, that's what Jamie thinks. He says the coin mech is busted. Look. He points at the slot. There's no little orange glowing light. There's no price listed. It doesn't say insert 25 cents or 2 coins, 1 play.
What did it say?
Etched deeply into the steel faceplate, in tiny razor-sharp letters, it said, "Insert vitality." Now Matthew is 12. He's a kid in the 80s. He doesn't know what vitality means. He thinks it's a brand of token. He gets frustrated because his older brother's laughing at him, and he smacks the coin slot with the heel of his hand. Just a frustrated kid smack.
Never hit the machine. That's how you get kicked out by the manager, or break a finger.
Well, he didn't break a finger, but the metal edge of the coin slot was inexplicably sharp, like a razor blade had been fitted inside the lip. It sliced the fleshy base of Matthew's palm. Just a small, shallow cut, but it bled immediately. A single heavy drop of blood fell directly into the coin slot.
Oh no. A blood-operated arcade cabinet? The ultimate microtransaction.
The CRT screen flared to life. But it wasn't 16-bit graphics, Mike. It wasn't chunky, glowing pixels. The screen had depth. True stereoscopic depth. Ryan said it looked like a literal window looking down into a subterranean city. Neon signs glowing in alien languages over wet cobblestone streets. He saw a gang of goblins in trench coats smoking cigars under a flickering street lamp.
That sounds like a live feed to another world.
Yeah, or a window that was about to open. Ryan said he felt a hum coming through the floorboards. The sticky, soda-stained carpet under his sneakers suddenly felt soft, wet, giving way under his weight. He looked down. The carpet wasn't carpet anymore. It was thick, spongy, glowing green moss growing over cracked stone pavers.
The reality of the game is bleeding into the arcade?
No. The arcade was being pulled into the game. The boys turned around. The Starcade was gone. The bright, flashy lights of Pac-Man and Galaga, the kids in the denim jackets, all gone. They were replaced by glowing, jagged amethyst crystals jutting out of massive, dripping cavern walls. The token change machine in the corner, it was now a hulking, rusted iron golem with a glowing slot in its chest.
That's incredible and terrifying. They've been physically digitized or teleported. They're trapped in the DUNGEONPUNK world.
They were standing in the middle of a dark underground street. The air was heavy and hot. It smelled like sulfur and cheap, overpowering cologne.
Cheap cologne? In a high fantasy dungeon?
Yeah, because standing at the end of the alley, blocking their path, was the arcade manager, Mr. Gills. The guy who always walked around with a fanny pack and a scowl, kicking kids out for loitering or leaning on the glass.
Did he get pulled in too?
He didn't get pulled in. He belonged there. Mr. Gills was standing under a flickering neon sign that read, "Potions and Pawn." But he wasn't human anymore. His skin was translucent, stretched tight over a skull that glowed from the inside. His eyes were burning green embers. He was a lich, a full-blown undead sorcerer. But he was still wearing his beige members-only jacket.
A lich in a members-only jacket. That's the most 1980s horror image I can possibly imagine. It's perfect, no notes.
Mr. Gills looked at them. He didn't speak with a voice. The words just appeared directly in their heads. Written in burning purple text hovering in the field of vision, just like a dialogue box in a game, it said,
"No loitering in the dungeon. Penalty, extraction."
Extraction of what?
Their souls, Mike. Their vitality. The currency of the machine. Gil raised his hand, which was now just skeletal fingers crackling with green lightning. From the shadows of the alley, things started stepping out. The other kids from the arcade. The guys in the denim jackets who had been hogging the machines, but they were deformed.
Mutated?
They had been mutated into orcs and cybernetic trolls. Their denim jackets were stretched over hulking gray muscles. Some of them had CRT monitors for heads, their screens displaying angry, glowing red eyes wrapped in television static. They were grunting, carrying lead pipes that sparked with electricity.
The boys have to fight their way out. But they're 12, man. They're kids. What are they supposed to do against cyber trolls? I'm much more engaged in this story than I thought I would be.
Of course you are. You see, this is where the game mechanics kick in. Remember, they paid a credit. The machine recognized them as players. Matthew, the one who bled on the machine, looks down at his hands. He's holding a plastic skee ball. He was carrying it from the redemption ticket counter, but it's not plastic anymore. It's a glowing, pulsing orb of pure kinetic energy, crackling with heat. He's the mage.
And Jamie, the oldest?
Jamie looks at his wrist. The cheap digital Casio calculator watch he was wearing has expanded. The plastic melted and hardened into a heavy iron gauntlet that covers his entire forearm. The digital readout on the watch is glowing in bright red LEDs. It says Rage 100%. He's the barbarian.
What about Ryan, the storyteller?
Ryan always played the shooting games, Time Crisis, Duck Hunt. He had a plastic orange light gun tucked into his waistband that he had jokingly stolen from another machine. He pulls it out. It's heavy. It hums with a deep vibration. The cheap orange plastic has turned to brushed gunmetal steel, and the barrel is glowing with contained blue plasma. He's the Ranger.
That's genuinely awesome. It's a literal boss rush in a fantasy mall. They've been armed by the system.
It's awesome until you realize the stakes. If you take damage in Pac-Man, you lose a quarter. If you take damage here, you lose blood. The horde of cyber trolls rushes them. Jamie, filled with his artificial rage from the gauntlet, steps up and punches a troll right in his monitor head. The troll flies backwards, crashing into a stone wall. Digital numbers literally pop up in the air above his head, hovering in neon red. Minus 450 HP.
Well, damage indicators in real life would be completely disorienting for sure.
Matthew throws the kinetic skee ball orb. It ricochets off 3 goblins like a pinball, bursting into blue flames upon every impact, before defying physics and bouncing right back into his hand. Ryan is blasting plasma bolts from the hip, dropping enemies left and right. For about 2 minutes, they feel invincible. They are playing the game of their lives. It's a power fantasy come to life.
But there's always a but.
And it's usually you that has the but. Bazinga.
Your turn.
But the games get harder. The first wave is always just the tutorial. The horde clears out, leaving behind dissolving pixelated corpses. And Mr. Gills, the Lich manager, steps forward. He reaches into his fanny pack and pulls out a massive, double-bladed battle axe. The blades are made of humming pink neon tubes.
The boss battle. The manager steps in. This is the chapter of the story where any Karen would be pleased.
Yep. Gil swings the axe. He's fast, impossibly fast for an old guy. The neon axe clips Jamie on the shoulder. It doesn't cut his shirt, but Jamie screams in absolute agony. He falls to his knees, clutching his arm. Above Jamie's head, a green health bar appears. It immediately drops to 50% and turns yellow.
Damn, he took physical damage.
Worse, his body starts to flicker, like a sprite with a bad connection. He's becoming transparent, pixelated at the edges. The boys realize if the health bar hits 0, Jamie doesn't die. He just becomes part of the code. He gets extracted, trapped in the cabinet to be a cyber troll for the next kid who plays. Ryan panics. He levels the plasma gun and shoots Mr. Gill point blank in the chest. The blast hits the members only jacket and does absolutely nothing.
He hasn't hit the weak point, or the boss has an invulnerability phase.
Gills just laughs. It's a horrible 8-bit digitized laugh that echoes in their teeth. He raises the neon axe to finish Jamie off. Matthew tries to throw the orb, but a dialogue box pops up in his vision. Mana depleted. Ryan realizes they can't win. The game's rigged. It's an arcade game, Mike. They are literally designed to be unfair, so you put more quarters in. But they don't have quarters, they only have vitality.
How do they escape? You can't just walk away from an active boss fight. There are no exit doors in a boss arena.
Yeah, you have to cheat. You have to break the game from the outside. Back in the real world, the Starcade wasn't completely empty. There was a girl working the prize counter. Her name was Carrie.
Carrie to the rescue.
Carrie was a high school junior. She was wearing a visor, chewing bubble gum, and completely ignoring the customers while reloading her quarter dispenser and reading Tiger Beat magazine. She was bored out of her mind.
The true hero of the 80s, an apathetic teenager.
Carrie looked over the glass counter full of cheap plastic spider rings and Chinese finger traps. She saw 3 kids standing completely paralyzed in the dead zone, right in front of the weird oak cabinet.
What did it look like from her perspective?
Well, from her perspective, they weren't in a dungeon. Matthew's bleeding hand was stuck to the coin slot like it was glued. Jamie and Ryan were standing rigid, their eyes rolled back in their heads, staring blankly at a screen that was still strobing with blinding ultraviolet light. The machine was humming so loudly the glass on Carrie's prize counter was vibrating and the plastic toys were rattling.
She saw them trapped in a trance. She saw the machine feeding on them.
Carrie didn't know about the Lich. She didn't know about the plasma guns or the DUNGEONPUNK world. She just knew that she made $3.35 an hour and she was absolutely not paid enough to deal with 3 kids having synchronized seizures in her arcade.
What did she do?
She grabbed a heavy wooden broom handle from behind the counter. She walked over to the back of the machine. Inside the game, Mr. Gills is bringing the glowing neon axe down over Jamie's head. The pixelation is for the game over screen.
And then?
In the real world, Carrie takes the broom handle, reaches behind the heavy oak cabinet, and violently jams it into the wall outlet, knocking the thick black power cord completely out of the socket. In a millisecond, the illusion shattered. The cobblestones turned back into sticky, soda-stained carpet. The heavy plasma gun turned back into a cheap, hollow, orange plastic duck hunt toy, clattering to the floor. The glowing green lich dissolved into the glare of the flickering fluorescent lights overhead.
They snapped back to reality. The hard reset.
Yeah, Ryan, Jamie, and Matthew collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, clutching their chests. The heavy oak cabinet went completely black. The screen was dead. The hum was gone. Carrie stood over them, holding the broom. She popped a massive bubblegum bubble, looked down at them, and said,
"Game over, dweebs. Go home before I call mall security."
Incredible. She saved their lives and assaulted them in the same breath.
The boys didn't say a word. They scrambled to their feet and ran out of the mall so fast they left their BMX bikes locked in the rack outside. They didn't stop running until they hit Ryan's driveway 2 miles away.
Did they have any physical injuries, or was it all a simulation?
It wasn't a simulation, Mike. Jamie's shoulder, where the neon axe had hit him in the game, the shirt was perfectly intact, but under it, He had a massive burn mark, and it wasn't just a burn. It was perfectly square. A jagged, pixelated burn mark etched into his skin. It's scarred, and he still has it today.
A permanent physical reminder of a digital wound. What happened to the machine? Did they ever go back to the mall?
They went back 3 days later in broad daylight. They brought Ryan's dad. They were going to demand answers, but when they got to the dead zone, the machine, it was gone. There was just an empty space between the centipede and the asteroid's cabinet.
What about the manager?
Mr. Gills was there. He was standing behind the change counter, counting quarters, looking completely normal in his beige jacket. No glowing skull, no neon abs.
Did they ask him about it?
Oh, Ryan was brave. He marched right up to the counter. He said, "Where is the apparatus?" Mr. Gills stopped counting. He looked at Ryan, his eyes completely dead, flat, and empty, and said, "We don't have that game. We never had that game, but..."
But what?
When Gills reached over to hand a roll of quarters to another customer, his sleeve rode up, and Ryan saw it. Underneath the cuff of the members-only jacket, Gills' wrist was glowing. A faint, pulsing, ultraviolet light, pulsing in the exact rhythm of the heartbeat from the game.
He was still tethered to it, or he was a projection of it.
He was the warden of the digital dungeon, Mike. He wasn't a guy managing an arcade. He was a subroutine, and he was just waiting for the machine to be plugged back in, waiting for the next kid to bleed on the coin slot.
JT, I have to admit, that was a pretty good story.
Oh, thanks, man. I've been holding on to that one for a while. But it's also the exact reason I refuse to play retro games. If someone invites me to a barcade, I decline. I am not drinking an overpriced IPA while standing next to a wooden box that might try to digitize my soul. I stick to modern consoles. In my living room, where the only threat is carpal tunnel and toxic voice chat.
It does make you wonder, though. Think about the history of arcades. Think about how many of them closed down in the late 90s and early 2000s. Thousands of machines, sold off in blind auctions to private collectors, shoved into damp basements, pawn shops, and storage units across the country.
Don't do that, Mike. Don't expand the lore. I want the story contained to 1988. Keep it in the past.
I'm just saying, the apparatus didn't get destroyed. It just got unplugged. It could be sitting in a garage somewhere right now, covered up in a dusty canvas tarp, just waiting for someone curious to plug it into a modern wall outlet. It's out there, looking for player one.
I am officially banning you from contributing to my stories. You took childhood trauma and made it scalable to the present day. This is why I don't tell stories. I'm a reactor, not a creator.
You did great, JT. We'll have to let you take the lead more often. You have a knack for the aesthetic.
No, we will not. I am retiring from storytelling immediately. I'm going back to my corner to complain about the foliage, the humidity, and the lack of Wi-Fi. That is my safe space.
Fair enough. Well, folks, thanks for listening to Ghost Bites. And if you ever find yourself in the back of a dusty, forgotten arcade...
For the love of blog, don't hit the coin slot. Use a token, use exact change, wear gloves, and stay spooky.
Yep. Keep your vitality to yourself.
Byzantium Slab, The Shell Remembers, Part 2. Interior, Whispers Home, a Converted Church. Night.
You already know about the Witch King and my escape from the extractors.
Yes. I started tracking you the moment you fell from the sky.
This plays out over a couple of panels, recapping the previous adventure for all the dipshits who didn't read the last issue.
From there, the TO led me to Carlsbad.
The cursed city. Yes.
Where I tried to start something resembling a life. I made money selling whatever I could salvage or steal.
Here we get a look at the city of Carlsbad. It's the largest city in the Witch Kingdom. By the way, this is not the kingdom's official name. This land is ruled over by the Witch King, Natch, and is inhabited by pagans, witches, atheist scientists, and hexpunks. Chan probably fits into the hexpunk class, this world's equivalent of hackers, except they use magic instead of computers to upset societal norms. Everybody hates the hexpunks, because, fuck those guys, am I right? The buildings look like the ruins of an ancient, sprawling Visigoth castle or Viking fort. All of the architectural flourishes are pre-Christian. Everything is made of stone, wood, and straw. At street level, there are thatch-roof cottages that serve as homes and shops. These ancient structures are augmented with tech, but the tech looks esoteric in the way the grimoires do. Esoteric tech. Ezotech. People travel primarily by foot. Occasionally, there'll be a horse or ox or warg-drawn cart, but you'd have to be a big boss to ride a horse or other mount. These beasts of burden may also be augmented with ezotech. There are chickens, goats, and other livestock running around just like a medieval market town. Also, since the pagans live here, I would imagine that the city embraces nature. So there may be a tree sprouting up in the middle of the street, etc. We see vignettes of Chan selling off the masked helm and the most damaged components of the hero's armor, as seen in Life Without a Soul, to various unsavory characters. We see Chan living in the streets, shivering in the cold with Drill at her side, eating scraps. Drill uses the Tio to help her steal shit.
And then they showed up.
I mean, the gruesomeness of this game and the occult link to it.
If you're bitten or scratched or even licked by any animal when you're abroad, take no chances. It could have rabies.
They would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace and screams would come out because there seemed to be some kind of spiritual forces inhabiting those pieces.
And then get urgent medical aid.
White witches, wizards, necromancers, the clerics, that type of thing. It includes evil wizards with the white versus black witchcraft.
If you wait until the symptoms of rabies appear, you've left it too late.
Anton LaVey, the writer of the Satanist Bible, says there is no such thing as white witchcraft.
Well, being a Satan worshiper, he should know.
Yeah, he should.
Rabies kills.
My name is Brenda, and I'm the creator and host of the podcast Horrifying History, where historical true crime and the paranormal collide. Some of our stories whisper and linger in the quiet spaces between breaths. Some stories scream, and today, I'll be telling you one of those. It's a story about a family, a home, and something that refused to leave. Our story begins in the quiet town of West Pittston, Pennsylvania. It is a place like so many others, with its tree-lined streets, modest homes, and neighbors who knew each other by name. It wasn't the kind of place where nightmares were supposed to live. But in 1973, the Smurl family moved into a duplex on Chase Street and unknowingly stepped into something that would terrorize them until they moved out in 1989. The Smurl family consisted of Jack and Janet Smurl, their children Heather, Dawn, Shannon, and Karen, along with Jack's parents, John and Mary. They all lived in a duplex together. Jack, Janet, and the kids on one side, and John and Mary on the other. They were all devout, grounded, and by all accounts, ordinary. This made what happened next all the more disturbing. At first, the signs were easy to ignore. A strange odor here, a sudden cold spot there. It was the kind of thing that people would normally brush off. But then, the noises began. It started with loud banging in the walls and scratching sounds that seemed to move like something unseen was crawling through the house. The lights started flickering, and then objects started to move on their own. Then the smells changed from unpleasant to unbearable. A rotting, sulfuric scent began to fill the rooms without warning and vanished just as quickly. The Smurls tried to ignore all of this, but whatever was inside their house was only getting started. The activity grew more aggressive. Furniture would shake violently. A television burst into flames without warning. Then, the physical attack started. Jack Smurl claimed that something unseen pushed and hit him. He was also pulled out of the bed by an invisible force. In time, the Smurls began to believe that they weren't dealing with just one presence, but several. According to their claims, there were 4 entities in the home: a harmless elderly woman, a young girl, a violent male spirit, and something much, much darker: a demon. The family believed that it was the demon that was responsible for the attacks. This creature seemed to be feeding off of their fear, chaos, and suffering. It refused to leave. Desperate, the Smurls turned to their church. Priests visited the home and did blessings, prayers, and sprinkled holy water throughout the home. Nothing worked, and the paranormal activity only grew. That is when the Smurl family reached out to two of the most famous paranormal investigators in history, Ed and Lorraine Warren. By the 1980s, the Warrens had already gained notoriety for their involvement in high-profile hauntings. When they arrived at the Smurl home and started to investigate, they believed that this case was genuine. Why? Well, when Lorraine entered the home, she claimed she could sense multiple entities immediately, including something that wasn't even human. When the Warrens conducted their investigation, they interviewed the family, examined the house, and performed multiple religious rites, but the haunting did not stop. It started to get worse. The family reported louder noises, stronger attacks, and more frequent disturbances. Janet claimed that she saw a dark figure standing at the foot of her bed, watching her. It didn't move or speak. Janet was terrified as it continued to stare at her before it finally disappeared. In August of 1986, Jack and Janet went public with their story in an attempt to get further help to get rid of the paranormal activity. Following their public announcement, a media frenzy ensued. Television crews camped outside the Smurls' house. Reporters from around the world started writing about this case. The Smurl haunting quickly became a national sensation. Some believed that the family was under siege. Others thought that it was all a hoax, but the Smurl family never changed their story throughout interviews, books, and public appearances. They insisted that what they were saying was true. At this point, life in the Smurls' home was unbearable. They never felt alone in their house. No one was sleeping very well, and they were constantly terrified. No matter what they did, they could not escape the entities in their home. Wherever they went, the paranormal activity followed. But as this case became more famous, criticism grew. Skeptics pointed out inconsistencies in the Smurl stories, and investigators could find no physical evidence of anything paranormal. Some accused the Warrens of embellishing this case. Others thought that the family was experiencing some sort of psychological stress, and it was manifesting as perceived paranormal activity. But there was one problem with this. The family showed consistent fear, and the sheer intensity of their claims was shocking. Either the Smurls were committing one of the most elaborate hoaxes of the 1980s, or they were truly living through something unimaginable. After years of living in terror, the Smurl family decided to move out. And just like that, the haunting seemed to end. No more noises or attacks were reported. After the Smurls left, Deborah Owens moved into the home in 1998. She said that she had never encountered anything supernatural in the house. But a question remained. Did the entities stay behind or simply lose interest? Were there any entities at all? The Smurl haunting remains one of the most debated paranormal cases in history. Believers point to the family's unwavering story, and skeptics point to a lack of evidence. But somewhere between the two, the truth lingers. This case would go on to inspire books, documentaries, and movies. The first was a 1986 book called The Haunted. This book was written by Robert Curran and Ed and Lorraine Warren. It detailed alleged demonic harassment, physical assaults, and levitations that both Jack and Janet had. Other books included The Smurl Haunting by Maxim F. Furyk and The History and Haunting of the Smurl Family Horror by Rebecca F. Pittman. The Haunted was adapted into a 1980s made-for-TV movie by the same name. But there is one more adaptation that you may have heard of. It is the 2025 movie called The Conjuring: Last Rites. This supernatural film is part of the Conjuring series and grossed about $500 million at the box office. This shows us that some stories refuse to stay buried, no matter how hard we try. Until next time, my spooky friends, keep your lights on and your doors locked, because sometimes the thing that you should fear is already inside.
On my signal, begin.
And now some rather bizarre local news.
New humans built cross are engineers to be new Panasonic video.
Players to stadium now. Players to stadium now.
Something special. Really different. Tastes great.
And now some Hollywood movie gossip.
Pork and beef sausage in a sesame seed roll. Topped with mustard, tomato.
He was unsuccessful.
Chan runs afoul of some thugs who, we learn through incidental dialogue, want to steal Byzantium Slab, her hammer. Now these assholes are real knuckle draggers. I'm picturing barbarian cavemen with Geordie LaForge glasses, a la the mutants in Dark Knight Returns. Real mouth breathers with rotten teeth. Chan can't get to her hammer fast enough, and so she takes a beating. Drill clings to her throughout the attack. Remember, only Chan can see him. One of the thugs keeps commenting on how sweet and delectable Chan is. Another thug picks up the hammer and starts swinging it like he knows what he's doing, but spoiler alert, he doesn't. Then, from somewhere off panel, Whisper arrives.
Put it down, asshole, and tell those pig f***ers to step away from the girl.
Cut to Whisper staring them down like a gunslinger in a spaghetti western. Whisper is still in the hooded cloak with the metal Zardoz-looking mask. The cloak looks like an ink blot wavering in the breeze. Whisper is holding the machete broadsword. It's hungry for blood. A trail of crackling Kirby dots rises from it like smoke from a very large cigar. The thugs laugh at Whisper and attack. One of them stays behind, holding Chan down suggestively. The thug with the hammer strikes first. Whisper slices his arm off with an almost imperceptible flick of the machete. And while his blood gushes out like a busted fire hydrant, Whisper flicks the blade a couple more times until he's just a pile of quivering, bloody sushi. The other thugs attack. They have spiked caveman clubs. Whisper makes quick work of them. She only needs one hand to fight them. The one thug who was previously holding down Chan tries to grab the hammer, but Whisper gets it first. Now Whisper has both the machete and the hammer. The thug turns to run, but before he gets away, Whisper, 1, slices this asshole in half, and 2, smashes what's left of him with the hammer, rendering him a literal puddle of goo. Whisper extends a bloody hand to Chan.
I'm called Whisper.
The two women walk through the night, out of the city, with Drill trailing behind them. Note to art department. It would be cool if we could play homage to a famous shot from The Seventh Seal here. The image of Death walking over a hill with his victims walking behind him in procession. They arrive at the old church ruins, Whisper's home. They sit on the floor in a panel that mirrors the one at the end of part 1.
Right. So you know your name is Chan. Tell me what else you remember.
You have been listening to Rogue Transmissions for Dungeon Punk. Rogue Transmissions was created by JT Hosack and Edward October. Byzantium Slab, Life Without a Soul, and The Shell Remembers were presented by Octoberpod AM, based upon an original idea by Nick Calavera with Edward October, and upon an unproduced comic strip written and adapted for Octoberpod by John Iger. In the cast, you heard Ari Shey as Chan, Arthur Williams as Tio, and MJ McAddams as Whisper. Additional audio engineering by Kevin from Straight Line Creative. Narrated, produced, edited, and directed by Edward October. Listen to Octoberpod AM wherever you find podcasts, or Octoberpod Home Video on YouTube. Find Octoberpod on the World Wide Web, along with all of our links at octoberpodvhs.com. Bink Pulling was researched and presented by Hopper Daly and McKinsey, hosts of The Final Trace. Listen to new episodes of The Final Trace every Tuesday, wherever you get podcasts. Insert Coin to Die was written by JT Hosack and presented by Mike and JT, hosts of the podcasts Ghost Bites and Brew Crime.
Ghost Bites is a production of Brew Crime Podcast. Intro music composed and produced by Jamie McDonald, also known as MD Boomsday, and found on Spotify as Chatterless. Logo design by JT. Sources can be found in the show notes. Thanks for coming on the spooky journey with me, Mike, and JT.
The Smurl Haunting, Terror in West Pittston, was researched and presented by Brenda, creator-host of Horrifying History.
You can find Horrifying History on any major podcast provider, or listen to our show on our website, horrifying-history-store.fourthwall.com. You can also find us at social media, on Facebook at Horrifying History, Instagram and Threads at Horrifying_History, X at Horrifying HIST1, Blue Sky at horrifyinghistory.bsky.social, or on YouTube at youtube.com/@horrifyinghistory.
If you've enjoyed Rogue Transmissions, we'd be very gratified if you left a 5-star or equivalent rating wherever you're listening. And tell your friends about the wondrous things you heard. Be sure to follow all of the podcasts who lent their talents to making Rogue Transmissions possible. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October.
Invincible in the air.
If you get painful headaches, you should know that recently, people like you nationwide took part in the largest headache test ever.